They applauded him for her work. Not a single person looked in her direction. She didn't interrupt, because by the time the truth shows up, timing matters more than volume. The office was unusually quiet that morning, not the comfortable kind of quiet, the tense one, the kind where people speak softer, walk faster, and pretend they're not watching. She noticed it the moment she stepped in. 2 people near the coffee machine stopped talking when she passed. Someone glanced at her screen, then quickly looked away. Something had already happened. She just didn't know what yet. At 9:12, a calendar notification popped up. Client strategy presentation, 10 a.m., her presentation. Or at least that's what it was supposed to be. She opened the latest version of the deck, paused, scrolled back up, then down again. The structure was familiar, too familiar. Slide order, identical. Charts, hers. Even the phrasing, that slightly sharp tone she always used in conclusions. But the author name in the top corner wasn't hers. It was his, her manager. For a second, nothing happened. No shock, no anger, just alignment, pieces clicking into place quietly, without drama. She checked the file properties. Last modified 6:42 a.m., modified by him, of course. He got there early, earlier than everyone, earlier than her, and just late enough to take what was already built. She leaned back slightly, not to think, to confirm. Another tab, another file, her original version. Time-stamped, structured, complete. The difference? One name. She closed both files. No screenshots, no messages, no immediate reaction, because reacting too early means playing by someone else's timing, and she wasn't going to do that. At 9:58, the meeting room was already filling up. He was standing near the screen, relaxed, confident, prepared. When he saw her, he gave a small nod, almost friendly. "Glad you could make it," he said, like she was the one joining his presentation. She returned the nod, took a seat, opened her laptop, and said nothing. That was the part no one understood yet. Следующая глава. The presentation started smoothly. Too smoothly. He moved through the slides like he'd built them himself. No hesitation, no searching for words. Which meant one thing: he had studied it carefully. He knew where the data peaked, where the logic tightened, where the conclusion landed hardest, because she designed it that way. At 10:08, he reached the core slide, the model, her model, the one that connected 3 disconnected data streams into one clean projection, the one that took her 2 nights to finish. "This is where we see the real leverage," he said, pointing at the screen. The investor leaned slightly forward. Interested? Good. That part always worked. Around the table, people nodded. Someone whispered, "That's smart." He smiled, accepted it, owned it. She watched the room instead of the screen, watched reactions, watched timing, watched who believed it. Because the truth doesn't break in the moment of the lie. It breaks when someone looks closer. At 10:16, he finished, clean ending, confident tone. "Any questions?" There was a pause, short, then the investor spoke. "Yeah, 1. Not impressed, not skeptical, precise. And that was different. He didn't ask about numbers, didn't ask about projections, didn't even ask about risk. He looked directly at her manager and said, "Who built the original model?" The room shifted, just slightly. Her manager didn't hesitate. "I did." Too fast again, same mistake twice. She didn't move, didn't look up, but she noticed something important. The investor didn't write that down. He just nodded, like he already had an answer and was checking if it matched. It didn't, and that's when the tempo changed. "Can you open the version history?" the investor asked. The question landed quietly, but it didn't belong in a normal meeting. Because version history is not about presentation, it's about origin. Her manager shifted his weight slightly. "It's a compiled file," he said. "We don't usually go into... Just open it." Same tone, no pressure. Which made refusal impossible. A junior analyst sitting closer to the screen hesitated for half a second, then clicked File, Info, Version History. The panel opened, right side of the screen, small, technical, easy to ignore unless you knew what you were looking for. Timestamps appeared first, then names, then changes. The first entry sat at the top, created by her date 6 days ago. Below that, a chain of edits. Also hers, adjustments. Rewrites, structural changes, every meaningful part of the file traced back to one source. Her. His name appeared once, near the end. Final formatting. No one spoke. No one needed to, because now the room wasn't listening. It was reading. The investor leaned forward, eyes moving, not rushing, confirming, not discovering. At 10:23, he closed his notebook, looked up, and said one sentence. Let's make sure credit reflects contribution. No accusation, no emoji, just correction. And somehow that landed heavier than anything else. Her manager didn't respond immediately because there was no angle left, no interpretation, no narrative, just data. And data doesn't argue, it records. The meeting ended early. No one rushed out, but no one stayed either. People gathered their things quietly, like after something they didn't expect to witness. Her manager avoided looking in her direction, not out of confidence, out of calculation, because any reaction now would confirm more than silence ever could. She closed her laptop slowly, same pace as always. No demonstracji, no победной паузы, just завершение процесса. By the afternoon, the changes started appearing. First, in the internal system, ownership updated. Then, in the follow-up email, wording adjusted, carefully, without drawing attention. But everyone noticed. Because shifts like that don't need announcements. They move through the office differently, in how people speak, in how they reference work, in how they look at you in meetings. The next time her name appeared on a deck, it wasn't small, and no one questioned it, not because she defended it, because it was already documented, traceable, verified, quiet. And in that office, that mattered more than any presentation. Some people win by speaking louder, others wait, until the system speaks for them. For